Hey class, welcome back to Introduction to Ethics. I hope you're all doing well today. Last time we looked at Ethics at the Beginning of Life Part 2, where we looked at reproductive technologies and some ethical issues that come up there. And then today we're going to continue our look at Part 2, and it is going to be a look at surrogacy. And the reason that there's an ethical issue with surrogacy is that you're bringing a third party into the situation. So stay tuned for the PowerPoint. Ethics at the Beginning of Life Part 2. And today we're going to be just looking at the topic of surrogacy. It's not a very long PowerPoint, but we do have to look at the topic of surrogacy and what it is, what the Bible says about it, and then some of the issues that come up in our society in regards to surrogacy. So surrogate motherhood is the most controversial of these new reproductive technologies. And the question is, what is surrogacy? Maybe someone's not familiar with it. Surrogacy is a woman bears a child for a contracting couple and gives the child over to the couple once the baby is born. The woman carries the child from implantation until birth, and then the baby is given over to the couple that she has the contract with. So that is what surrogacy is. And as you look down at the second bullet point, for a number of reasons, surrogacy has been the subject of debate. And so we have these main points regarding surrogacy that we're going to move through each one of these quickly, and we're going to see what the issues can be. But the first one we're going to look at is just the types of surrogacy. Okay, so the types of surrogacy there's two: genetic surrogacy and gestational surrogacy. Genetic surrogacy is that the sperm comes from the male of the couple and the egg comes from the surrogate, not the female of the couple. Okay, so really the female of the couple has no role in genetic surrogacy. The surrogate mother provides the egg. And now this insemination is usually through IUI, the artificial insemination. Otherwise, the only other way would be that the male of the couple actually goes and has sexual relations with the surrogate to impregnate her. So that's usually not how it happens. It's usually through artificial insemination. The male of the couple, his sperm, is put into the egg of the surrogate. Okay, that's the first one. The second type of surrogacy is gestational surrogacy. And this is where the sperm and the egg are from the couple. The egg is fertilized in a lab. The fertilized egg, or the embryo, is implanted in the surrogate mother. Almost all surrogacy cases are gestational surrogacy. So even though genetic surrogacy can occur, and probably sometimes does, where the female of the couple for some reason cannot produce eggs, or maybe because of a disease, she lost her ovaries or something, she can't produce the eggs, a surrogate is used for the egg, and then the male of the couple gives the sperm. That's genetic. Gestational is that the male and female of the couple, their sperm and egg are put together in a lab and then implanted into the surrogate mother. Regardless of the type of surrogacy that we just talked about, it needs to be noted that a third party has been introduced into the procreation process. And so that's why we have to look carefully at this, because now you have a third party involved, and the ethical issues that might come up, but also what does the Bible say about procreation and how procreation should take place? So in regards to the Bible, there are two Old Testament cases where there is surrogacy. And both of these are genetic surrogacy because the fathers actually have children with the surrogate. And so that's Genesis 16, 1-6, where Abraham fathers Ishmael with Hagar, which is Sarai's maid. Her name is going to later become Sarah. But he fathers Ishmael with Hagar, because Sarah was old and was not having children. Genesis 30, verses 1-13, Jacob fathers Dan and Naphtali with Bilhah, which is Rachel's maid, and Jacob fathered Gad and Asher with Zilpah, which is Leah's maid. Okay, so these are the two cases where there is surrogacy here, and it's going to be in those two verses, it's genetic because the sperm came from the father, and then the egg came from the maids, the Hagar and Bilhah and Zilpah, in regards to Abraham and then Jacob. But as it says there in the very middle of the screen, the Bible is clear that children are to be born within a stable, heterosexual, monogamous marriage. Okay, that is God's plan for the family and for procreation. And some people may try to argue differently than that, but it's pretty clear in the Bible that in Genesis 1:27 and 28, it says this: "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth.'" Genesis 2:24 gives more detail of the creation of male and female in Genesis 1:27 and 28. So Genesis 2:24 says this: "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Okay, so we see two genders, male and female. That means it's going to be heterosexual, because in the same verse, God says, "Be fruitful and multiply," which means male and female, you need to go procreate. Be fruitful and multiply. Well, Genesis 2:24 gives us a little more detail. You're going to be joined to, the man shall be joined to his wife. Okay, so there is going to be the reference in regards to marriage, monogamous marriage. It's not joined to wives or several people or anything like that. It's joined to his wife. So there's the marriage, monogamous, and they shall become one flesh. Okay, so one flesh, that definitely has sexual overtones where they come together in the physical union to join together, and in the procreation process, they will be fruitful and multiply. Okay, that is all what I just read and explained. That is all before sin entered the picture. This is before the fall. So this is God's plan for the environment, the family environment that children are to be born in. A stable environment of husband and wife who are heterosexual, and they are monogamous with one another. So that's what the Bible says about the environment. So what happens is when you bring in third parties, it begins to interfere with what God has planned in regards to procreation of children. But we do have to look at a few other things now. Surrogacy, the legal issues. Okay, well, surrogacy is going to be under a legal contract. This will be legally binding for the couple, but also, in regards to financially providing, but also the surrogate who, once the baby is born, needs to give that child over to the couple. So there's legal contracts involved. And what happens with legal contracts, especially with the gestational surrogacy, is that basically the woman becomes what is called a human incubator, or a prenatal babysitter, or just a baby breeder. Or it can just be as simple as, hey, a deal's a deal. So we see these issues that can take place where this third party that comes in and is involved in the procreation is almost, I don't want to say dehumanized, but just looked at as, just like a baby breeder. Okay, so that all comes into play. And then we see genetic surrogacy. The surrogate is the biological mother of the child. As I explained before, the surrogate is the biological mother. The egg came from the surrogate. Well, the genetic biological mother is legally the mother of the child. Okay, the father is the male of the couple that wants the baby. But the child is biologically from the surrogate. Okay, and so legally, the surrogate mother is the legal mother of that child. And so that can cause issues, especially if the biological mother, who's the surrogate, if she goes and decides, what, I don't want to give this baby up. Contract or no contract, I'm legally the mother. And so that can cause an issue. A second thing that takes place is that this can be viewed as baby selling.
If the mother is biologically the mother, she's the genetic surrogate, and she is legally the mother of that child, but then goes and for financial reward or gain or whatever you want to say, quote unquote, sells the baby to the couple, that can really start getting into some dangerous area, especially when it comes to baby selling. Where maybe the mother wants the biological wants more money, and almost like extortion. Yeah, I'll give you the child, but you need to give me X amount more than we agreed. And the desperate couple will try to get the money so that they can get the baby. Well, then next thing you know, it turns into a baby selling racket. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at here in regards to surrogacy is motherhood. Who is the mother of the baby? Now, genetic surrogacy, the surrogate is the legal mother, okay, because half the baby is from the surrogate. That's her egg. Okay, so she's the mother. But gestational surrogacy is a little bit more difficult. Pre-implantation, the mother of the embryo is the female of the couple. No one will really have issue with that. The female of the couple is, gives the egg, and the male of the couple gives the sperm. It is, put together in a lab, and then the fertilized egg is implanted in the surrogate. It's growing inside of the surrogate. Well, what about after implantation in the surrogate? Does the surrogate have any motherly responsibilities within this time period from implantation to birth? Or is the womb just a neutral place for nutrients and growth, and then that is it? Well, the contract would say, yes, that's all it is. Okay, once it's implanted, because this is a gestational surrogacy, once it's implanted, it grows to maturity, and then gives the baby is born 9 months later. So you wouldn't think that there would be this big of an issue, but there is definitely a connection between the woman who is carrying the baby and the baby inside of her. And it's not just a physical connection, because there is this bonding connection, if you want to think of it that way. And this bonding connection can lead to issues later on, because when she gives birth, if she has bonded with this baby in the womb, feeling a kick and the life that's in her, and this surrogate, gives birth, and all of a sudden the surrogate doesn't want to give that baby up, then it goes into the legal system. And again, all of this is because now you've inserted a third party into this procreation process. And then we have surrogacy, baby selling. Baby selling is genetic surrogacy where half the child is biologically the surrogate's. Okay, so the surrogate is the one that gave the egg, and she is the legal mother. But then charges of baby selling can occur, because if she's the legal mother of the baby and yet is giving her baby away for money because she's a surrogate and she's getting some sort of financial profit from being the surrogate, it can look like she's selling her baby because she's the legal mother. And what this can lead to is basically funding babies for the black market. And so then you can have all kinds of issues coming up where basically surrogates are looking at this as a way to make a lot of money, just have a baby and sell it on the black market. And then lastly here, we're going to look at as exploitation. Desperate couples, they want a baby, and there's low income surrogates who they may be desperate also in regards to financial issues. They'll try to make a deal for surrogacy, and really it can start to go out to where exploitation, whether that of the couple or of the surrogate. And there's definitely exploitation of the surrogate when it comes to surrogacy to low-income countries, which has become more popular, where you're basically outsourcing your surrogacy to these low-income countries where, you're paying the couple is paying the surrogate a fraction of what surrogacy really costs compared to the developed countries. And so different countries, they do different things to where the women who are carrying the babies are actually like separated from their families, and they almost become like baby making machines. So it can lead to exploitation in other countries. We do have to talk just real quick about what I talked about earlier with adoption. Some Christians might not have a problem with gestational surrogacy because the egg is from the female of the couple, the sperm is from the male of the couple, and really the surrogacy is just carrying the baby to term. And then if the surrogate gives the baby over to them as the contract says, then basically no harm done, and they move on. So some Christians might not really have a problem with that. But definitely surrogacy leads to a lot of different issues, and it definitely is not how God planned how procreation should take place, because it brings in a third party into the formula. But what about the couple that might have ethical issues with surrogacy and all of this? I have to reinforce that, as I said previously about the one fence post, that there's adoption, and there are many children that are adopted, whether that be through a private adoption or through an adoption agency or through a foster care system or something like that. There's always adoption that the couple could pursue and raise a child in a loving home through adoption. Okay, so that is it for Chapter 6, Ethics at the Beginning of Life, Part 2. I'll see you in a second.
Okay, class, that's it for today. Next time we'll be looking at the ethical issues with biotech, genetics, and cloning. I'll see you then.